Mute me and unmute me.
Hey now. Welcome into episode 25 of Cover Your Balls. Man, we have a packed show for you today. A lot of balls to cover, a lot of things to talk about that are non-balls related, but we're still going to cover them for you. Sam Summers is with us today, but first things first, I am today's host, Mitch Balla, alongside my co-host.
I'm Jordan McKelly.
And this is a quarter of the century mark, Jordan. Episode 25 of Cover Your Balls.
Kind of a big deal.
On Thursday, February 11th. Yeah, it's a huge deal. We made it.
We're kind of a big deal now.
Kind of so far. Eventually we'll be a bigger deal. We'll be covering...
A big enough deal to be a douchebag to wear sunglasses inside, like that big of a deal? Can I do this now?
Let me fact check.
You know,
yes.
It is
yes,
always sunny in Doucheville. That's what they say. Just saying.
Well, Jordan's apparently in Doucheville. I'm in Canton, Ohio, inside my own studio, your studio. And Jordan, before we cover the balls, we got to give the people what they want. It's 4 o'clock.
What they need, really.
So it's time for a top 4 at 4, Jordan. Our top 4 Valentines. Mm-hmm. I'll throw it over to you first, sir. You give me your top 4 Valentines since it is almost Valentine's Day.
Top 4 Valentines. When I think of a Valentine, guys, I think of something that I love to this world, to the moon, Mitch, and back. I think of Tiger Woods. He's one of my 4 Valentines. When I think of someone who's electric, who draws me to the screen, Tiger Woods has and will always be that one guy for me. Also, JJ Redick. JJ Redick may be my favorite college basketball player ever. Actually, he is my favorite college basketball player ever. It was hilarious how much people hated him in the early 2000s when he played at Duke, but I think you do remember, and it was crazy. I have another Valentine to give out to somebody who's very close to my heart. His name's LeBron James. Akron Canton boy, just like both of us, and how can you not like it? And at number 4, I have Charlie Frye. Charlie Frye was a quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, and Charlie Frye, you'll always have a place in my heart.
Jordan, that was a very touching and sentimental top 4 at 4. I actually have a very similar person on my list, so I'm going to start at number 4 as well. At number 4 is, a Valentine I had been waiting for quite a while, and it's my franchise quarterback, Baker Mayfield.
Wow.
Baker Mayfield is my franchise quarterback, and I'll fight anybody who says he isn't, because you're wrong. He's my Valentine, number 4.
That's
number
cute.
2, Jordan,
That's pretty cute,
is the best player on the Cleveland Indians, who a lot of people thought we traded, but last time I checked, Jose Ramirez is still on the Cleveland Indians.
He is.
So he is actually number 3 for my Valentine. But Jose, I know you're out there, you're going to ball out this season. I can't wait to see what you do on the field. At number 2 is the GOAT, LeBron James. Greatest basketball player to ever walk the earth. Greatest basketball player still playing right now. And so he's at number 2. But Jordan, at number 1, it's very near and dear to my heart. It is the listeners of this show. And if they want to be an even bigger Valentine, what they're going to do is they're going to go like and subscribe if they haven't already. And after they do that, they'll be number 1 on my Valentine's Day list. So the listeners and the fans and the people who tell me my takes are bad, you build me up and make me better every day. So you are my Valentine this year.
Mitch, I respect it. I respect your list. Did you
Thank
see Charlie Fry coming there at the end? Did you see me
I,
putting him
I
in
was
there?
not. I can say I really did not see Charlie Fry coming in there, and that was a good one. That was a good one. He was probably the next.
For over 2 years of my life, all I saw in the area when I was watching TV was Charlie Fry commercials. That's it. He did these car commercials, and that's the only commercial they ran on TV. Like some of those Christmas songs that get in your head and you just like start hating them after a while. Yeah, it's a love-hate relationship, me and Charlie Fry. Love-hate.
There's a lot of love-hate relationships out there, across sports between, people who are fans and across player to player, Jordan. And we need to talk about something that could become a little bit of hatred, maybe inside their own locker room. And for those just joining us, we have a packed show today, but Jordan, let's kick off segment 1. Let's go talk NFL because there's still some juicy headlines in the NFL we need to cover. And first things first is quarterback Patrick Mahomes in the shade he threw his teammates after the Super Bowl loss to Tampa. And what Patrick, said that his wide receivers were running routes he didn't expect them to run. And his offensive line was good, but they let guys through, Jordan. So what do you think about that? What are you shocked by Patrick Mahomes' comments? Are they bad comments? So how do you feel about that?
My God, I hope that's not how you feel. Are you into that like gossip stuff like the Kardashians nowadays? That was not throwing shade at all. When you sent me that video, I expected him to go on an assault on his teammates by the way you described it to me in private. I watched the video. He says maybe 6 to 7 seconds of questionable stuff that after you think about it for a second time, you're like, oh, that's not questionable at all. The wide receivers ran some wrong routes. The line play wasn't great. He also made some mistakes. He didn't absolve himself of the mistakes he made. It would have been different if he'd have been like, well, man, I played my heart out there today, but my teammates just sucked. He didn't say anything like that. Nothing like that at all. And you're a drama queen, sir, if you're sitting across from me 127 miles away thinking that Patrick Mahomes is on the same level of Peyton Manning, of when Peyton Manning years ago literally bulldozed his teammates with a John Deere tractor. Bulldozed them. Bulldozed. Not the same.
Listen here. As a quarterback, you are the leader of your team. Now, I don't care listen, quarterback is generally the leader of the team, no matter what. As a leader of the team, you don't throw shade at all. Listen, he did admit that, he had some bad plays. He threw 2 interceptions. Yes, he could have easily refrained from saying anything about the wide receivers, which there shouldn't be any excuses. These guys have all been playing together. They're not new guys. They didn't need an offseason like some other teams in the NFL that had new additions. And then listen, your offensive line was already playing out of position. So 1, I don't know what you expected. 2, why would you even throw what kind of backhanded compliment is they played good till they let guys through? Like, what is that? What are you doing there, Patrick? Because that's not what you should be doing, Jordan. And I'm telling you what right now, I think Patty Mahomes is feeling the pressure now. For the first time.
Pressure?
He's feeling some pressure now.
Oh,
Jordan.
God.
Heading into that game, 27-1 your last 28 games. Worst loss that he said in his career that he can think of. Jordan, Pat Mahomes.
You out of your mind?
You know what? I mean, can you even consider him GOAT status anymore?
Pressure? What do you mean pressure? Are you pressure?
What's he do now?
There was much more pressure on Patty Mahomes when he sat out a whole year and then had to be displayed before everyone after they decided to go with him instead of Alex Smith. He has gone through the most pressure he might ever go through in his entire playing career. Patrick Mahomes has already won a Super Bowl. The only 2 roadblocks in his career so far have been Tom Brady back in the AFC Championship a couple years ago when the New England went on to beat the Rams, and the second was Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. If the only time you fail is when you're playing maybe the most accomplished athlete ever, I think you're doing all right. I don't think there's that much pressure on Patrick Mahomes at all. I honestly feel like the sky's the limit, and that's the most pressure that he'll have in his career.
Well, don't forget he also had a really bad loss to a really bad Las Vegas Raiders team. That's one of the losses. But
You mean
but
really bad? You lose
listen,
games in this league. You're playing professionals. This
listen.
isn't Pee Wee football, okay?
I think Patrick's feeling the pressure for this reason because he's grown up in the era of where we determine, how do you determine greatness? And Jordan, we talked about this. We're going to have an episode here of how we determine greatness, and that's going to be next week. But you know, Pat has grown up. LeBron, quote unquote, can't be the GOAT because he's lost in the finals. So now Patrick has a loss. So now I think he realizes, oh my God, all this pressure's on me because now I can't be the GOAT because apparently you can't be the greatest of all time if you lose in the Super Bowl. He would have been better off being like Baker Mayfield losing the second round where he could have kept GOAT status, because apparently it's better to lose earlier in the playoffs than it is in the finals. So and he already knows now that Nick Foles, who's 1-0 in the Super Bowl, is technically higher than him on the GOAT chart. Trent Dilfer, who's 1-0. Eli Manning's 2-0. So now Patrick Mahomes is feeling this immense pressure now because if you go by Jordan logic, Pat Mahomes has already thrown himself out of the window for the greatest of all time.
I see what you're doing. And by the way, when you say Jordan logic, you mean Michael Jordan logic.
Not your Jordan logic.
Not my logic. Yeah.
No.
I understand what you were doing in making a push for LeBron James the whole time. Just come out and say it. Don't beat around the bush about it. Like
because if I come out and say it, people aren't going to realize it. And you know what? Chad Mathis makes a great point too. The pressure you have as Jackson Mahomes' older brother. I mean, Jackson probably had, 10 plus TikToks mapped out to make on the Super Bowl stage afterwards that would have gone viral. So that adds pressure too. So Patrick Mahomes is feeling the heat, Jordan. And that's a tough look for him right now.
We have a new addition to the show, and that is our background commentary and research, Sam Summers. Sam, what do you feel on this? We're kind of split on this.
Yeah, you know what, Jordan? I got to side with you on this one. I watched the video. I was expecting quite a lot. I heard the same thing. Pat Mahomes was throwing his receivers, his O-line under the bus, and he had, cookie cutter answers. It's what you say after a big game loss. I do think this is the first time in Pat Mahomes' career where he is feeling that big game pressure. I know he's lost before, but he's never lost like that. Again, he'll be in the AFC Championship. He might be in the Super Bowl. Who knows? Pat Mahomes is Pat Mahomes. Yeah, I mean, I was expecting a lot, but that was really nothing.
Last question, Sam. Does this mean that Tom Brady should open up his own insurance company since he beat both Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers?
There's no safer plan than the TB12 plan. That's proven. It's factual. If you do the TB12 plan, you have no excuses. You should exceed in everything you do.
All right, he's spot on with that. I mean, I think I haven't looked at the stock market, but if State Farm is possible, they've had to been plummeting because their two biggest guys have just taken tumbles. And you know what? I think after the show, Sam, I'm going to go switch over to the TB12 plan for sure. Jordan, are you going to go to the TB12 plan, or are you already on it?
No,
Oh, you're not going to it?
No. I'm
Okay.
gonna stay solo right now. I'm just thinking about my options.
Oh, okay. Well, somebody that didn't do a good job on Sunday thinking about his options as a play caller was Andy Reid, Jordan. And you know what you said in episode would be 23 before we previewed the Super Bowl. You thought he was the X factor, really. You thought he had the upper hand on Bruce Arians. I also agreed with you. He had been there before, whether he was coaching the Eagles or coaching the Chiefs last year. And we talked about it. Andy Reid had a big gaffe in the Super Bowl. He just didn't show up. So what do you think that played a major factor in this defeat?
I think a lot of things played a factor in this defeat. One of them being that his son, who is the linebackers coach for the Kansas City Chiefs, basically put a 5-year-old girl in the hospital in critical condition fighting for her life. And I think that was definitely on Andy Reid's mind. I don't know. Me and you were talking about this earlier today. I haven't heard a lot about what's going to actually happen with Andy Reid's son, and I can't think of his name, and I should know his name right now. But apparently, he had admitted to drinking a couple beers before he hopped in the car, and he was on prescription Adderall, which both of us know you could probably go, through 10 to 15 before you even feel the effects of anything, because prescription Adderall just basically numbs those effects. Anywho, I feel like that was a reason for Andy Reid, and we'll figure out what's going to happen with his son shortly. I also just don't think what happens when you beat a team so decisively the first time, because they did. Like, they only won by 3, but they whooped Tampa Bay's ass the first game. Whooped them. I mean, got out to a lead quick, and Tampa Bay came back and made it look close. It wasn't close, though. If you're Kansas City, how do you change your game plan? You had a wide receiver go for over 200 yards in a quarter. What you did worked, and they showed that they showed no signs that they could stop it. So we stuck to the same game plan, and it didn't work. And I also don't think that he was ready for the speed on Tampa Bay's defense. And that's kind of hard to believe that he didn't see that, because they had already played him. So they already knew how fast Devin White and a lot of those guys were on the defensive end. It was a really poor showing by Andy Reid. Honestly, I think it was his worst playoff showing he's ever had. That was a terrible, terrible game. And if Tampa Bay really is the better team, which who knows, they might be. I don't think they are. But say they are. They're not 21 points better than Kansas City. That's ridiculous, right? The spread was Kansas City was the favorite by 3.5. It's just wild. I have no excuse for that, but I was definitely the person who came out last week and said that he was the decisive advantage in this game. I think he's a much better coach than Bruce Arians. But I guess he was coaching against Tom Brady, not Bruce Arians, right?
True. He was coaching against his Tom. Tom is the system.
Stop. Stop it.
Let's move on then. And we'll get Sam back in here then, but we'll stay in tune with that story, especially if something happens. But just out of respect for how sensitive it is right now, we're not going to go too in depth with the off the field issues in Kansas City. But I do think that was a major factor. But gentlemen, let's stay in the NFL and let's talk some free agents and some players that are frustrated right now. Jordan, the title of our show today: should the Seattle Seahawks trade Russell Wilson? So let's start right there. Rumors are coming out in Seattle now that Russell Wilson would like out of Seattle because they're not doing a good job of surrounding him, protecting him on the offensive line. We've heard this whole phrase, let Russ cook. Well, when you talk to some guys or listen to some guys that have played there, there is no such thing as Russ cook when Pete Carroll's the head coach. They have nothing designed for Russell, really. It's run the ball on first down, run the ball on second down. If it's third and manageable, they'll run it again. If not, it's going to be a deep ball, DK Metcalf or Lockett, or maybe a quick route to the tight end. We saw Russell Wilson get hot to start the year. I think everybody was on the same page that he was the front runner for MVP until they lost. Mm-hmm. What is your thought process? We'll go to you first, and I'll get Sam's opinion on Russell Wilson apparently wanting out of Seattle. Is this a scare tactic to get what he wants, or is he tired of them not keeping him safe in the pocket?
Here's the deal. The Seattle Seahawks have not helped Russell Wilson over the course of his career in Seattle. They have not given him weapons or surrounded him with the pieces he needs to continue to take them back to the Super Bowl. My girlfriend, Dee, thinks everything I make is great. She thinks it's all good. It doesn't matter what I make in the kitchen, turns out great. There's a little trick I have, and I meant to bring this up here for the show today, but I have this thing. It's called Lavender's Greek Seasoning. I can throw this shit on anything, and it takes my average cooking, and it makes it spectacular. That's what Russell Wilson is. Russell Wilson can take subpar parts and pieces around him, be spectacular, and your team can vie for a chance at winning their division every single year. He is that thing that you grab in your cabinet to put on all your food because it changes everything about it. Russell Wilson needs to be kept happy, and Seattle needs to keep him happy. Pete Carroll is a good leader. I don't know how good he is X's and O's wise, and I don't understand how down the stretch Seattle had the issues they had. And I really think that's a knock on Pete Carroll. They need to keep their quarterback happy. He's never, ever, 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 Mitch and Sam, come out and really had any shenanigans, right? They've never had to deal with them. So make them happy. Talk to them about who they want to pick up in free agency, or who they think he wants to bring on the draft board and stuff. Like, allow him to come into those meetings. All you're going to do is get somebody else. Russell Wilson could probably take everybody's job in all the Seahawks organization. I mean, he could probably take everybody's single job. Have you ever watched him in an interview? I mean, he's the ultimate professional. Fantastic. I'm telling you what, he could take he could take anybody's job. And Seattle needs to figure out a way to keep him happy, because you can't have him going on the Dan Patrick show saying some of the things he's saying. You can't have that.
Sammy, what are your thoughts?
Well, when I initially heard this, I thought it was just smoke. But the more that I think about it, I think the more that Russ might want out. If you think about it, they could be the third or fourth best team in that division. The Rams are obviously number one after that trade. We have the 49ers, who have a fantastic defense, fantastic offense, when healthy. Of course, they have Jimmy G and a lot of controversy there. And then you have the Cardinals, who have a young, hungry team with arguably, probably a top 10, top 15 quarterback already with a ton of upside. I mean, I don't know what happened to the Seahawks. They were Super Bowl contenders, one of the best offenses in the league. They had a horrible defense, and then all of a sudden Week 12 comes around. They can't play offense. Their defense is phenomenal. And then Russell Wilson laid in the playoffs. I don't get it. So it's starting to make sense that, maybe the Seahawks are ready to blow up that team. If you get rid of Russell Wilson, I mean, you're blowing up that team.
Well,
100%.
Exactly.
I actually pulled up. This is from Complex, right? But teams that should target Russell Wilson. I think they have. Looks like they got 5 here. They're saying the Giants, the Dolphins, the Colts, the Cowboys, and the Broncos. The Washington football team. I mean, I think any of these teams, with the addition of Russell Wilson, I think they're already better than Seattle.
I mean, I can get behind that. I really can. And I'm glad you brought up that list, Sam, because that's actually where we're going to move, because I'm with you guys on this take with Russell Wilson. And the next question is, if he gets traded, where's it going to be to? We have Rob Williams in the live chat asking us, he doesn't think he'll get traded, but where would he go? So guys, let's go ahead and do something a little new. Let's call our shot. Let's call our shot with a couple of guys that are angry or frustrated or free agents about where they're going to go. Your option is to name the other team or just say they're going to stay where they are. So let's start with Russell Wilson. Jordan, you go first. Is Russell Wilson on the move, or will he be a Seahawk?
100%. Not first. He's 100% a Seahawk. 0% chance that he leaves. 0%.
Sam?
I like staying with the Seahawks, but I'll switch it up. I would love to see him in a Miami Dolphins uniform.
That'd be a nice uniform. But I think he stays put. But if there's one place he goes, Seattle should call Houston and just do a straight flop, like Brandon Ranke just said in the live chat right now, of Deshaun Watson for Russell Wilson.
Those two are not of equal value.
They're not.
Not even for a second. We're talking about it's either him or Rodgers. I don't think Patrick Mahomes is as good as I think Russell Wilson's that good. Like I think
Russell is better.
I think he's the best. I like him more than anybody else in the entire NFL. I love Russell Wilson. Absolutely.
If you dislike Russell Wilson, I don't know what to tell you other than
not
you're just
an even trade. Like Russell Wilson has had worse teams in Seattle than Deshaun Watson had in Houston this year, and he's never had a season like Deshaun Watson. Never. They're not the same. They're not even in the same. Not even in the same league.
Someone that isn't the same. same league as Deshaun Watson. We're going to mention here later in the show, Jordan.
Deshaun Watson's in the FCS of the NFL. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I agree. But let's talk Deshaun Watson. Sam, you first. Is he going to be a Houston Texan or is he going to be dealt?
I think it's going to be dealt to the San Francisco 49ers.
Ooh.
I think they're going to trade whatever it takes. I mean, they're in perfect position. If they don't have to trade one of their big young guys, why not? I mean, the Rams have no draft picks for a decade. You may as well just deplete your farm, give it everything you have. Because if they get somebody like Deshaun Watson, I mean, they're almost a lock for at least the divisional round, if not the championship round in the NFC.
Jordan?
I'm sorry. I was looking through those chats. We have a lot of good stuff happening right now. A lot of people with some pretty good shots they're calling too here in the chat. But no, I agree. I agree with Sam. And Sam, you think he's going to get traded, correct? And I'm under the impression that. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's out of there.
Yeah.
They could keep him, but I could see Deshaun Watson just saying, "I'm not going to play."
Well, I think that's what he's going to do.
On him, but what's he, a $400 million man?
Yeah. I bet you he sits out a year. I think he's going to sit out a year. I think that's how deep this is going to go because I don't think Nick Caserio is going to trade him. I truly don't think he's going to take offers for him. Somebody has to stand up at some point in the NFL, or all of these guys are going to make the NFL what the NBA is, and those owners are never going to let that happen, ever. They're not the same owners that own the NBA teams. Not the same guys. Not going to happen. No, so someone's going to make a stand at some point, and I feel like it might be, in this case, a guy who comes from New England, who was Bill Belichick's right-hand man. You think he's trading Deshaun Watson? No. So
he isn't trading Deshaun Watson.
I actually don't think he's going to trade. I flipped on you guys. I'm sorry, Sam. Now that I'm talking this out, I think that's it. Mitch, what do you got?
He isn't going anywhere. They're going to hold him hostage. And guys, there's something I learned today that I don't think a lot of people know. Deshaun Watson hasn't even met face-to-face with the front office to talk about this, to see if they can talk about him staying. That just shows you what kind of person, and what I've been saying all along is Deshaun Watson isn't a leader. He won't even meet face-to-face with the front office. Deshaun Watson is getting traded, and he's not going to hold out because he'll get fined $50,000. I don't care how big of a contract he signed. Every time he doesn't show up to a practice or a game, $50,000, that contract's not going to be there a whole lot if you're getting fined $50K every time. Deshaun Watson is going to be playing in Houston next year, and he should be.
And this is something I was thinking about earlier, and this is something I brought up to you, Mitch, and Sam. I'll open this up to you and everybody listening. Everybody thinks and says that this is the era of mobility, right? With LeBron James, like this was the era of mobility. I think this is the era of the ultimate competitor. All of these players are leaving teams taking less money. Why? Because they want to win. If anything, and I don't think Deshaun Watson is handling it the best, Mitch, but I do think that he wants to win more than anything. He's crying during a regular season football game. Who does that? A guy who wants to win. So all these guys who want all this mobility, I think I'm starting to be empathetic to the fact that they do love what they do. And they want to, when they want to do it, they want to do it to the highest level. So maybe this is the era, guys, of the ultimate competitor. Maybe we shouldn't be hacking all this and upset about all this mobility. Maybe it's better this way. I was just thinking about this earlier.
But you just opened that up with saying, they care more about winning. Now, we've already touched on Deshaun Watson signing that huge contract to stay put there.
I know, but do you see how bad it looks? He has to know it looks terrible. So why it would have, I mean, if not, it's really dumb to come out and say this if it's not for winning, because all you're doing is making yourself look really dumb. He has to know how dumb he looks. So there has to be a real reason behind this. Thus, it has to be about winning. I asked you, tell me the last guy to cry during a regular season game for losing. Tim Couch for the Browns 20 years ago when he was getting sacked 9 times a game. It doesn't happen often.
Maybe he just had something in his eye. They play in a dome. There could be stuff in the air. It's tough. It's tough for them to. Maybe he had something in his eye. I mean, we don't know.
I'm just saying maybe we need to pump the brakes on hating all these guys like James Harden, Kevin Durant, and people who are mobile and on the run because they want to be at the peak of their game surrounded by other people who have the same standards. I don't know if there's anything wrong with that.
Well, let's dive into that.
I can't hate on it.
Wouldn't you rather work for a company that has your back and you can go in and you don't have to feel like there's adversity in your own building? Because there's adversity between you and every team you go to play. The last thing you want is adversity in your own building. So maybe he just feels like he's not going to be heard there anymore because he never has been heard, or else it never would have got to this point.
He has been heard because he wanted the money and he got the money. So that he has been heard. He wanted the big contract. He got the big contract. You don't get to get the big contract and then go switch companies. That's what he's trying to do. That's not how it works. You get a severance package if you get fired from your job or you leave the place of employment. It doesn't mean you get to just get taken off and you get all your money and then get to go play for somebody else. It's not how it works. Deshaun Watson obviously doesn't know that because he's never been in a place of business. Okay. But it's not how it works for Deshaun Watson. And we can compare him to somebody here that is also trying to get a trade. And we'll compare him in here in a second. I wanted to let Sam get his take in though.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I can't hate a player for wanting the best out of their career. I mean, he's not leaving a Super Bowl ready franchise. He's leaving a very young franchise who's made horrible mistakes in the past building their team. If you want to build a Super Bowl contender, you trade Deshaun Watson. It's obvious he doesn't want to be there. It's obvious you're probably not going to win with him. And I'd argue you don't need a quarterback like Deshaun Watson to win a Super Bowl. I think the Texans are just fine trading him. I don't really see why they would keep him. I mean, who do you have around him that you're going to win in, 5-6 years even? I mean, their team is bad.
I mean, they do have
just a little breaking news.
Oh.
A little breaking news for you, Mitch. Number 34, Jackson for the Browns has been cut, so you will not be seeing him any longer. We have a guy by the name of Greedy Williams who is thinking about playing next year. He's thinking about it's under consideration, so we'll see.
Who? What was his name?
Apparently he's on the Browns.
Oh, okay.
That's
well,
hilarious.
I trust you because you're a research man, but if there's other people out there that want to dig while we keep moving on this topic, let me know who Greedy Williams is. Must be a nickname. Can't be his real name, right? But yeah, that's wild. Thank God Jackson's gone. Thank God. That's all the Browns now. Browns are in a good spot now. Whew, let's go. All right, let's talk about other guys, and we'll keep it quick. Just name the team they're going to go to, or if they're staying put. Well, let's stay on pace with the W's here, and let's stay in Houston. J.J. Watt, staying or going?
Going.
Cleveland Browns.
All right, I like that. That's actually where I think he's going to go. Carson Wentz, staying or going?
Going.
Andy Colts.
Yep, Sam and I are in the same spot. Guys, an awkward one. Dak Prescott of the Cowboys, who was left out of their team hype video yesterday, didn't appear in any of the 30 seconds of the video. Is Dak Prescott going to be a Cowboy next year, or is he on the move?
Staying put. Dak Prescott's not going anywhere. Don't read too much into things. There's nobody else on the market they're going to get better than Dak Prescott right now.
Let me do this. I'll say Seattle Seahawks.
Ooh,
wow, that's
that.
big.
I like that.
That's big. Mitch?
I think he stays put, but I like Sam's thinking there. I really do. Here's another quarterback no one's talking about, but there are still rumblings of him getting moved, and that's quarterback Matt Ryan of the Atlanta Falcons, guys. Is he staying in Atlanta, or is he on the move?
I think you keep him right now. I don't think there's a reason to leave Matt Ryan. I don't know how you would move that contract. I don't know what team would be willing to pay for that contract that is a quarterback away, like a Matt Ryan away. I think Matt Ryan has some good years of football left. I think you get a quarterback and you groom him under Matt Ryan.
I think you throw Matt Ryan a bone, see what you can get for him, let him go be a contender somewhere else. The Hawks are done. I mean, they're done for at least 5-6 years.
Guys, Matt Ryan's going to Matt Ryan's going to be New England Patriot. That's me calling my shot. We'll stay in the quarterback room. Sam Darnold, the New York Jets, staying, or is he going to go play somewhere else?
I think he has to play somewhere else. I think he's going to get traded before the draft. And I think they're going to try to figure out a new direction. I mean, I don't think you can... The damage that's been done to Sam Darnold through Adam Gase cannot be undone. I think you get rid of him. And if you can get any picks for him, if you could get a third-round pick for him, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I think he's on the move as well. I can see him having success in the NFL, but not in New York.
I agree. I honestly think that there's going to be a team out there that goes after him, that they have a similar quarterback against the Chicago Bears. Nobody's talking about it. Makes no sense, but that would be the most Chicago Bears thing I've ever seen if they went and got Sam Darnold and they had Mitch Trubisky. Very similar players. Guys, Cam Newton, is he done, or is he going to latch on with another team?
I think Cam Newton's finally done, guys. I think that he's going to try to play. I think he ends up playing. And when I say playing, I mean just being a sideline quarterback with a clipboard, not dressed on a team this year. And I think after that, I think that's going to be it. I don't think he has any stock in the NFL, except maybe teaching.
Yeah, he'll be like RG3, back up somewhere, riding it out, collecting the paycheck. He's still great. He's just not MVP Cam.
I agree, guys. I think Cam Newton has played his last snap in the NFL. But we'll have to wait and see. I just don't think there's a fit for him right now. And last one, guys, before we move on to a bigger topic. Andrew Sendejo, will he be back for the Browns, or will he be flipping burgers at Burger King?
I think he's probably going to be back for the Cleveland Browns. And I'm excited to have him back.
Jordan, I fully agree with you. I don't know why I want him back, but I do. He won't be a starter, that's for sure, but he's a hell of a guy to have on the squad.
I don't know what's going to end up there, but I if he comes back, hopefully he, like you said, Sam, he won't be a starter. But that will be. Yeah, we're changing it up, Jordan. Before Sam and I give everybody the headlines, it's time for something you brought to my attention today.
What was that?
Deshaun Watson versus another quarterback in the league that's looking to be traded.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, Carson Wentz. Awful contract, has no arm anymore, was only one win away from having as many wins as Deshaun Watson. Mitch, can I ask you a question?
You can ask me anything you want.
What's 3 plus 8?
11.
Plus 1?
12.
Okay. So Carson Wentz won 3, would win for every one game he won, he lost 3, right? So if he played 4 more games, chances are maybe he wins 1, which would be the same record as Deshaun Watson. How is Deshaun Watson a guy who's going to get all these first-round, second-round picks, but he's a 4-win quarterback through 16 games? I'm out on Deshaun Watson being that next guy. I'm out on him. I'm out on him because Dabo Swinney was the spokesperson for this entire charade, and I'm not a Dabo Swinney fan. And so it makes sense that I feel the way I feel right now. I'm not a fan of I hope that he doesn't go for that many picks. That would be ridiculous. I don't know how you guys feel about him, but I'm not saying he's Carson Wentz. Obviously, I think Deshaun Watson's a good quarterback, but never ever should his name be uttered up in the top 5 quarterback range. I don't think. That's just my opinion. I like to win football games.
Sammy.
I'm not a huge Watson guy. I've never have been. I think he was a product of his environment in Houston, and I think he's got a lot of talent. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think he's a guy that's going to go to a team and lead him to a Super Bowl. I mean, he's got championship experience in college, but welcome to the NFL. We'll see what happens to Deshaun Watson. I wish him the best. But when you're getting paid $400 million you should be able to go anywhere and win a Super Bowl. So
I don't wish him the best. I hope he sits in Houston, and I hope his career wastes away, because that's what you get for signing and know what you were signing up for. That's all I can say about that. Jordan, I'm right there with you. What is the difference? If Carson Wentz would have won if he would have played another 4 games, Doug Peterson had that wonderful coaching gaffe at the end of the year that ended up costing him his job. Decided to play Jalen Hurts and then the third stringer. What is the difference? Sure, Deshaun's a little more mobile, right? He runs around. Oh, wait a second. Does he run around? Because he's played 1 whole less year. You can actually say almost 2 less years, and he's almost been sacked as much as Carson Wentz. So for a quarterback that, quote unquote, can escape, doesn't look like he's really doing it that much. The QBR, yeah, sure. Deshaun Watson is a better QBR.
Well,
also played with DeAndre Hopkins, a better wide receiver than Carson Wentz has probably ever had.
100%.
So that helps you right there. And for someone that told me that Deshaun Watson made DeAndre Hopkins, that is the biggest load of bull I've ever heard in my life. DeAndre Hopkins made Deshaun Watson look like the quarterback he is, worth that money. That's all I'll say about that. Listen, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm not a Deshaun Watson guy. I've been very vocal about that. He's not a top 5 quarterback in the league. I'll fight anybody that says he is, because he's not. Quarterbacks make people around them better, just like players in the NBA do, something like Bradley Beal can't seem to do. So there's just Deshaun Watson isn't it. Let him go. Get all the picks you can. Hold him captive. I don't care. Deshaun Watson's not it. And Carson Wentz is right there, honestly.
Well, and Mitch, it's not that it's just that he had DeAndre Hopkins. He had probably 5 or 6 or 7 players better than the Eagles' next best player. The Eagles at one point when they played the Browns had 9 starting lineups on their offensive line. That was their 9th starting lineup on the offensive line. The Eagles have a terrible roster compared to Houston, and Houston does not have a great roster. So
no.
It's not that he just has 1 less loss. He has 1 less loss. And I would say Romeo Crennel was probably a more competent coach than Doug Peterson this year, sadly, when he had him. I think everything Deshaun Watson had was better. I've never understood the allure of Deshaun Watson. I understand that he's incredibly athletic, but that's another thing, by the way. Everybody is complaining in Seattle that, and this is the one thing where I have Seattle's backs, guys, and I'm curious to hear your opinion, is Russell Wilson is the most sacked quarterback in a 9-year period ever. Most sacked quarterback ever. However, his escapability is unbelievable. So is it that all these guys that are getting sacked all these amounts of times, maybe the offensive lines aren't that bad? Maybe they need to get rid of the damn football. A lot of these guys are holding on to the football, and that was Carson Wentz's problem this year. That's why he throws so many interceptions, because he holds on to the football too long. Maybe that was part of Russell Wilson's problem this year, and I think it was. And I don't obviously put that on Pete Carroll or the Seahawks, and I think that's something that he can clear up in the offseason. But a lot of these guys, like Mitch, you were talking about it a little bit ago, think they can get away from everything, and they can't. They can't. Devin White is faster than you. You know what I mean? There's middle linebackers who can guard Tyreek Hill in open space. Those guys are faster than you. You're not running away.
And before I let Sam get his last word in here before we go to the headlines, for those that saying Deshaun Watson didn't have any help this year, this was his highest completion percentage year in all the years he's played in the NFL. So
that is a garbage statistic, though.
But they're acting like they have guys out there not catching passes, though. The Brandon Ranke's out here acting like Deshaun Watson's throwing to a guy with no hands.
Well, they have Will Fuller. Will Fuller is about to get paid. They have guys. They definitely have guys.
They're pros. That's all there is to it. Everybody in the NFL is a professional. Okay, yeah, sure. Obviously, there's players better than other people, but they're there for a reason. So Deshaun Watson still had help. Yeah, he didn't have DeAndre Hopkins, but for some people that said he made DeAndre Hopkins, they look like fools now.
I think it was just DeAndre Hopkins definitely wouldn't have been as good with a lot of he throws a good ball. He's still a really good quarterback, but yeah, he definitely didn't make DeAndre Hopkins. That's a ridiculous thing to say. I don't even entertain that. I don't know who said that to you.
No names, please. No names. Let's let Sam get his word on not top 5 quarterback Deshaun Watson before we move on.
This is on Deshaun or Russ?
Deshaun.
Oh, like I said, I'm not a big Deshaun guy. Wish him the best. I mean, you're exactly right. Will Fuller. I mean, he's top 20 receiver, top 25. Off the top of my head, don't burn me on the stake here. It's just like, you might be fast, you might be able to escape the pocket, but the longer you hold on the ball, the worse your offensive line is going to look. And don't forget, the Texans have Laramie Tunsil. Laramie Tunsil is a top 10 left tackle in the L.
They gave up Noah's Ark for it. They gave up Noah's Ark for Laramie Tunsil. The whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly why the Texans need to trade Deshaun Watson, because they're depleted. They're depleted with a horrible roster.
Oh, just terrible deals. They definitely should. They could get a lot for it. They need to before they lose the value. His value will drop at some point. It's not going to be as high as it is right now. So I would get all the value you can. But Nick Caserio, looks like he's going to be a little stubborn when it comes to giving up. And I kind of get it. I mean, if you really believe in Deshaun Watson, how can you believe? Like, how could you trade? If you believe that he is that guy, and a lot of people do, how could you give up that guy when he's already on your roster and under contract for 3 more years? I get it. I understand if he's even being stubborn about it.
I agree.
Happy trails.
Yeah, that's just my rant on it. We're just talking this out now that I'm thinking about this. Like,
well, you're allowed to rant.
It makes sense.
Yeah, but you know what makes more sense? If we get the afternoon headlines with Mitch and Sam now. So, Sammy, I'll start it off first before I throw it to you. But guys, let's just go through a quick couple things. We'll start in the NBA. All right. Where the Toronto Raptors are now announcing they're going to finish their season in Tampa Bay. Did you guys even remember they were playing their home games in Tampa Bay this year? Because I sure as hell didn't.
I mean, they've been playing some bad basketball this year, so everything they've been doing has been pretty forgettable. So, yes, I also forgot that.
Sam, did you know that?
Mm-mm.
Not that it mattered.
I had no clue.
Yeah, neither did I. But a bigger matter right now in the NBA is what owner Mark Cuban of the Dallas Mavericks said.
Yeah.
That they're not going to play the national anthem. They hadn't for the first 12 home games that they had played this year, guys. And the NBA came out and then reinforced the protocol saying that the national anthem will be played in every arena before a home playoff game. Jordan, is this a big deal or not?
Well, didn't he double down? Didn't he come back and say that he never said that now? Didn't something else come out? I have no idea where this even came from. Why does it even matter? Like, play it, don't play it. Who gives a shit? Like, what are we doing? Like, you have a job to do. You're here to play basketball, right? That's what that's what we're doing on the basketball court. Like, don't play the national anthem before anything else. Play it, don't play it. What are we doing? Like, come on.
I think this was pretty out of the blue. I hadn't heard anything about that. I saw he stopped playing. For what reason, I don't know. Maybe because they have a bunch of foreign guys on the team. Maybe get the Slovenian, maybe Lithuanian national anthem going in there. Who cares?
Oh, that's a good take.
I like that.
Maybe Mark Cuban is the most inclusive owner out of all the owners, and maybe he does want to bring in the Lithuanian national anthem. That's a good call, Sam.
It really is. That's
a good
great
call.
Moving on now, gentlemen. Let's go to the NFL. And guys, before we to the NFL, I need to give a shout out to our listener, Jordan. He will be appearing on the show as our NFL draft analyst and expert, Mitch Farnsworth. It is his birthday today. It is Mitch Farnsworth's birthday, and he is a Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan.
But he's a Buccaneer fan.
He's a Buccaneer fan, and it's his birthday. So
Sounds
Mitch
like
Farnsworth,
a bandwagon fan.
No, he's not a bandwagon fan. I would call him out if he was. So Mitch Farnsworth, happy birthday, sir. I know you knew I was going to do this, but I had to keep it going. So you watch halfway through the episode, man. So happy birthday to Mitch Farnsworth. But Jordan, let's talk about those Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where yesterday Tom Brady had his longest completion, even longer in the Super Bowl, when he threw the Vince Lombardi trophy from one boat to Gronk on another boat.
It's a beautiful pass.
Yeah, honestly, it was his best pass he made since the game against the Packers. But
yeah,
he's not in our final for his biggest balls today, but did that take some big balls to do?
He looked so loaded yesterday. Good for Tom Brady, like letting loose. Maybe all these years, maybe it was Bill that was keeping, like, really just downplaying his personality, not allowing him to do anything fun. Look at this. After his, I would say Tom is as competitive as he's ever been, but he's a little looser than he's ever been. I feel like that's working to his benefit. I love seeing the GOAT do this. Love it. And I also love, and you brought this up earlier, LeBron and Tom Brady, like the interaction they have on social media back and forth, really having each other's backs. I think that's really cool. We don't see that in sports a whole lot, and especially to see it from one GOAT to another GOAT. That's GOAT talk.
Sam, was it impressive and also bigger balls on Tom Brady to throw the Vince Lombardi trophy?
You know, Mitch, I thought his 3 touchdowns in the Super Bowl were a little more impressive throws. I thought it was a little disrespectful at first, but when you're king of the NFL, you can do whatever you want. I love to see Tom Brady letting loose, having fun with Gronkowski, taking vacation days for the first time in his 20-plus year career. Good for Tom Brady. 7 championships now? I mean, he may never be touched, so do what you want, Tom.
Respect.
Do what you want, Tom. Hey, listen, I agree. Guys, the MLB today came out with their projected win-loss total for the teams heading into the 2021 season. They have the Cleveland Indians finishing second in the AL Central, finishing with an 86-76 overall record. Boys, are the Indians going to make the playoffs this year?
Is Terry Francona the Indians' manager?
Yes.
Then there's the answer right there. If Terry Francona is your manager, you make the playoffs. That's what a Terry Francona managed team does. They're going to make the playoffs. I'm calling my shot right now, like Tom Berenger did in Major League One, over the fence. That's it. That's all I got.
Oh.
That's it.
I'll take that 86-76 record all day long for the Cleveland Indians. I mean, we're playing small ball, money ball this year. 86 wins. Are you kidding me? I mean, I'll take that all day long. If we can sneak into the wild card, so be it. Let's do it.
Believe that. And listen, Tito at the helm and Jose Ramirez on the team and Shane Bieber pitching. I like our odds. Not sure what to expect, but I'm going to roll with you guys. I'm going to say we make it. My last headline before we move on has to deal with Aaron Rodgers' fiancée, Shailene Woodley, who came out and recently told everybody what her religion is, guys. Her religion is the earth. She believes in trees. No, wow.
Can't dispute that.
I stunned you guys with that one.
He said can't dispute that. What the hell does that mean? She believes in trees. What does that mean? What religion is that? Have you done any research after you? So hold on. You saw that headline. You did no research after you saw she believed in trees. It didn't you weren't curious on what the hell that meant? You said
no. She's getting married to Aaron Rodgers. But there is no need for research. It was just because who knows what it came up in my history. Who knows?
Drew coming in in the comments for those listening. Tree gods are overpowered. Oh man. God bless.
Mitch Farnsworth says a lot of people believe in trees. I mean, I don't know. But what I do know is it's time for Sam Summers to give us some headlines now.
I've got just a couple for us today. Had a conversation with my Uncle Mike today. Uncle Mike D. He said, go have a beer, go stay out till 2 a.m. because Ohio's curfew ban is done with. Ohio is back. Our COVID numbers are going down every day. I'll be getting the vaccine tomorrow, boys. So hope is on the way. Look at me, I think I'm first batch. Group 1. I can't believe it. Me. What an honor. Seriously, what an honor.
We're honored to have you
Thank
on.
you, Uncle Mike. Yeah. I mean, sheesh. And the only other thing I got for us is Uncle Joe B. He had a conversation today with Xi Jinping, I believe, some leader in China. I'm not too well versed in Chinese politics. But after this conversation, Biden says China will eat our lunch. So I don't know, America. You better start saying nice things about China because they're coming over and they're eating our lunch, according to Uncle Joe. So I don't know.
God bless.
And I believe that's it from Sam. So I think that has to do with today's afternoon headlines. You can make sure you stay tuned for those headlines and other great ones for weeks to come by subscribing to us, liking our page, whether it's Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. I don't know. Just follow and like us. I mean, that's what you have to do. Hit the little bell for notifications and make sure that you don't miss my half-hour headlines or Sam's half-hour headlines from here on out. Because he is notorious for having some amazing headlines, Jordan. Let's move to segment 2, boys. Let's talk a little bit NBA. And let's start first with our Cleveland Cavaliers, who, guys, they're back to reality. Cavs have lost 5 in a row. They're 10-16, and they are on a West Coast road trip and got dismantled last night. A 38-point loss in Denver, 133-95. Their next 4 games are against teams that are either in the playoff picture or expected to make the playoffs, and that is at the Portland Trailblazers, at the Los Angeles Clippers, at the Golden State Warriors, and home versus the San Antonio Spurs. Guys, before we talk about what the hell's going on, are the Cavs going to win one of those 4 games before they host the Oklahoma City Thunder on February 21st?
I think they are. And I think I texted you what team they were going to beat earlier today. I'm trying to think exactly what that team is.
You said the Warriors.
I said the Warriors, yeah. I think they are going to beat the Warriors. When I look down, that looked like their best shot. However, there's something else that was happening in the media that you're going to tell us about that might give some insight on a game they might have a shot at.
But what was that? What?
That would be we were talking earlier about the Cavs versus Portland. And we were talking about the Cavs post game with head coach Bickerstaff chewing those guys out, and you were talking about, hey, maybe the Cavs will have a shot at Portland when you get your ass whooped by 38 points, you should get yelled at. Even grown men do need yelled at sometimes, and especially when you're by 38. So
listen, that's embarrassing in and of itself.
A lot of points. That's a lot of points.
That's a lot of points. And JB Bickerstaff did throw the guys not under the bus, but he called them out last night, questioning hustle. Like, everybody that's ever watched basketball know that off nights happen when you're shooting, but you should never have to question hustle and effort. And that's what he questioned last night, which obviously by looking at the scoreboard, there was none there for the Cavaliers in Denver last night. The best effort. The best effort the Cavs had last night was Larry Nance Jr. sitting at home trying to eat more nuggets than the Denver Nuggets scored points. That was the best effort the Cavs had last night. And he wasn't even with the team. So that's all there is to it. Their only shot to win a game is Portland after getting called out. And if they lose that one, guys, this could get ugly very fast. Sam, what do you think?
I actually love the Cavs against Portland. I think they're due for a win. I think they match up well with Portland. I mean, we'll see. It's tough when you've got Dean Wade getting serious minutes. I was going to bash Dean Wade, actually, but I pulled up the scorecard from last night. He got 8 points in 8 minutes. And I'll point out the real problem for you here. It's Chetty Osman with 22 minutes and 2 points. I like Chetty. I'm so tired of Chetty Osman. It's time for him to go. He's hit his ceiling about 2 years ago. His best time was he was getting mentored by LeBron. And we were all like, oh, my goodness, like, Chetty is the next LeBron. Look at him. I mean, he is, the prodigy.
I did hear that. I heard that.
Yeah. It's time for the Cavs to sell everything they've got. Let's keep the core. Let's rebuild in the draft. It's even tougher is when your highest paid player is on a 3-month honeymoon. I don't think Kevin Love has practiced for the Cavaliers in 2 months. I'm not sure his last game played.
Well, he's been doing gap shoots.
What are you doing?
But Banana Republic, he had a month shooting in Venezuela, for Banana Republic. So that's where he was the 1 month. So it wasn't a 2-month honeymoon. It was just a 1 month.
That is Kevin Love as the spokesperson for Banana Republic is probably one of the most spot-on things this world's ever seen.
Well, it is Banana Republic though, isn't it? It's that?
Yeah, it is.
It is. Okay, I thought
yeah.
so.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Man, what a transformation! That guy was a terrible-looking dude, and then all of a sudden he became a great-looking dude. Like, what do you have to do? Like, what transformation process? Do you know those, like, if you go on Instagram, you get those messages or those, like, ads that come across, like, oh, see what Sarah did in 4 weeks, her transformation process. Like, what the hell did Kevin Love do in his, like, 7-year transformation process? Because he went from looking like the Blob to looking like a guy that you could put on an entire marketing campaign. What did he do? God bless you, Kevin Love.
And now he's engaged to a supermodel in Kate Bach.
know.
I mean, it's just like, Kevin Love's my hero. Kevin Love is my hero.
The James Harden diet.
If I'm starting here, the sky's the limit. Like, geez, good for him. What you love to see it. You love to see it.
You know, one thing you don't love to see though, guys, is your starting point guard had 8 assists, was 1 of 9 from the floor for 4 points last night. Colin Sexton, rough game for the Sex Man, and rough game for Garland. So just rough game for Sexland in general. Sam, what are you worried about Sexland or not?
No, I'm not worried about the sex appeal to Sexland at all. I'm very happy with DG's development this year. I was not a fan of him last year, but I kept the faith. He's still silky smooth. He's got great vision on the floor. And, I mean, I don't know. Colin Sexton is not a point guard. He's a shooting guard. He plays like James Harden. He has that, playmaking ability. But he's not a point guard. Losing Larry Nance for us was a huge loss. We're going to be struggling from here on out. That's for sure.
We didn't lose him. He was in the. I saw him on social media last night in the Chicken Nugget Challenge. He's clearly not out. He's competing for us. We're just in a different.
He did his part.
A different league right now. How many did he get, by the way? How many chicken nuggets did Larry Nance eat?
Don't quote me on this, but and Sam, unless you know, but I thought I saw something that he got to like 118.
He ate 118 nuggets?
I don't know if that's true. I want to say
was it the McDonald's new spicy nuggets or was it the regular nuggets?
Regular nuggets.
Big question.
Nearly 100 nuggets.
Okay, so
that's surreal. 100. Still, though, that is surreal. I remember 2 weeks ago, I bought a 10-pack of nuggets, finished 8 of them. Like, I couldn't even finish these other 2. I threw them away. This dude went through 10 boxes. That's crazy. That's the most, it's definitely more impressive than anything he's ever done on the basketball court.
Hey, he played more defense last night against the Chicken Nuggets than the Cavs did against the Denver Nuggets. That's all I know. Guys, listen. The Cavs, I don't think they're going to win a game until they play the Thunder in Cleveland on the 21st, but that's neither here nor there. Jordan, I know you wanted to talk about the Brooklyn Nets a little bit today.
I did a little bit.
Take it away.
Yeah, here's the deal. Said this weeks ago. I said it days ago. I said it hours ago. And now here I am right now. Saying it again. The Brooklyn Nets aren't and will not make it to the NBA Finals. I thought that this team was a team capable of winning the Eastern Conference Finals. And at this point, I don't think that they are. They're running out of time. Kevin Durant is out there not on the court right now because of contact tracing. Kyrie Irving is not a leader in leaving, like Kevin Durant's the dad. Leaving like Kyrie Irving with James Harden alone is bad for business. Something is bad is bound to happen. Kevin Durant needs to get back as soon as possible before Kyrie does things that he can't undo. They play absolutely zero defense. They remind me of all the basketball I've ever watched at the YMCA, the CYO leagues, the church leagues,
Jackson Friends.
Jackson Friends leagues. I mean, every basketball league that I have ever watched. That's the kind of defense. You have to, for them to win, they have to score over 120 points a game because on average, they give up over 120. That is surreal. That is surreal. That is not sustainable. Elon Musk would not build this machine because he knows it wouldn't be sustainable. This isn't efficient basketball. This might be the worst constructed super team I've ever seen put together. The Lakers won't have to worry about the Nets because the Nets simply won't be at the dance months from now in June.
If you give up 125 points to the Cavaliers, you're not making the NBA Finals.
No.
Mitch, I texted you last night. Nets were up on the Pacers 62-30 at halftime. Game ends 104-94. And I'm sure they sat starters, but you still gave up 64 points in the second half. They'll be lucky to make the conference finals.
Yeah, listen, I'll sit here. They might be the most gifted team offensively, but guys, if they don't play defense, it doesn't matter who they're playing. We like you said, Sam, giving up 125 points to the Cavs. Imagine what teams that have better players are going to do. So I'm not quite on your level yet, Jordan, to say they're not going to make the finals. And Sam, I do think they'll make the conference finals, but I'll go on record saying I won't be shocked at all if they don't make the NBA finals or the conference finals. I still expect them to because, we all know what the three-headed monster offensively is capable of. And you'd like to think, now will they turn it up defensively come playoff time like we've seen some other teams? That's yet to be seen, and we won't know until it happens. But all I know is this: they aren't winning the NBA finals. That's all three of us are on the same page there. We're just trying to decide where they're going to go. And we'll see. Listen, last time I checked, the Seattle Supersonics of the Jackson Friends League, led by head coach Jordan McKelly, played way better defense than the Brooklyn Nets. Is that correct, Sam?
I'm sorry, I'm not Sam. That's not me.
That's okay, coach.
This is all I'm going to say.
I'm looking at the.
Go ahead, Sam.
I'm looking at these Eastern Conference standings, and you got the 76ers, the Bucks, who I think could both beat the Nets in the playoffs. And I think the Celtics are a very sneaky team to make the finals. I don't know. The Nets are going to have a very tough road. The East is not a cakewalk anymore. It really isn't.
It's not a cakewalk in terms of and here's the thing that I thought the East was way better constructed than the Western Conference to start the season in terms of like upgrades, right? I thought the East got better, the West got slightly worse as a conference. But I don't really like the Sixers. Like, if they were over in the West, how high would they be?
Yeah.
Are they? And here's something else I was thinking of earlier. Is Chris Paul not the Russell Wilson a factor? Like, where you could just probably put him on any team and he's successful? Like, can we just take a moment to, like, just praise Chris Paul for what he's done in Phoenix? Like, they would be the 4th seed in the playoffs right now. They're 15-9. He made OKC relevant by himself. Now it makes me think of Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan. It makes me think a lot less of them right now, seeing what Chris Paul's able to do with all these other teams and by himself. And it reminds me of what Russell Wilson could do, in my opinion, on any team if he went there. They have that similar X factor.
Yeah, Chris Paul. Yeah, Chris Paul is one of the greatest point guards to ever play the game. Very underappreciated. I'm a huge CP3 guy. I love to see the Suns succeed. I used to love watching Phoenix Suns basketball with Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire.
Oh my gosh!
And they've got Chris Paul, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton. They've got a whole slew of young guys. They're going to be here for a while, and Chris Paul is nowhere near done. I mean, he, as a point guard, you can find your niche, mean, he could play till his 40s. So the Phoenix Suns, a couple of years, watch out.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I agree. He's one of the most underrated players in all the NBA still. It seems like once things didn't shake out the way they should have in LA with the Clippers, it was like, oh, he's left for dead. He's old, blah, blah, blah. He's not as good as we thought. Literally goes to OKC, makes them relevant. Like you said, Jordan, they make a run in the playoffs, almost knocking off the Thunder or the Rockets. I'm sorry. He was relevant in Houston too. I won't forget that. But like, this guy is so underappreciated, and the Suns, like you said, fourth in the West. Are they a viable threat to everybody in the West?
I think so. This is his fourth or fifth team that he's taken to the playoffs. CP3 is the guy that you want to take the last shot on your team. He's that good. Like, the reason that they were up 3-1 on Golden State, make no doubt about it, was because of how CP3 runs the basketball floor as a general on the floor. James Harden, one of the best scorers of all time, would never doubt that. They're never in that position without Chris Paul. Devin Booker's only going to get better. Chris Paul, I still think, like you said, Mitch, I 100% agree. I think he has a lot of good basketball left. Everybody talks about LeBron being this Iron Man, but nobody ever gives Chris Paul any credit for how long he's played. Yeah. And it's kind of confusing why. But Chris Paul is just not this type of generational basketball player. Like, LeBron is almost soft compared to Chris Paul to me. Chris Paul is an old school basketball player that he'll get up in your face if he has a problem with you, because that's just how he handles his business. It's nothing against you. He's just hard on people. He has much of a more like a Michael Jordan mentality, right? Very softer. So I just don't think a lot of the younger guys like him. So maybe he doesn't get as much respect as he should. But I think he's arguably the best point guard ever. I mean, he is an X factor no matter where he's at.
Yep. He's a winner.
Yeah.
That's all he does.
I'll back you. I think Chris Paul's a top 5 point guard of all time.
Is he better than Steve Nash? We just had Brandon Ranke. Brandon Ranke just commented that in the chat. And people, if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple, we do this live every Tuesday and Thursday at 4 p.m. So,
those guys they're not even close. Okay. I love Steve Nash. I have to say this first because it's going to sound like I'm talking mad shit about Steve Nash. I love Steve Nash. He's one of my favorite NBA players ever to watch. Love him. That's the team I'd roll with on NBA Live back in the day. Whatever. He is not even in the same room with Chris Paul. Okay? His 2 MVPs are the fakest MVPs of all time. Like, his fake MVPs went by the same logic that gave Steph the first unanimous MVP. You're saying Steph's the first unanimous MVP ever. So the people who vote on the MVP don't really count. Chris Paul is so much better than Steve Nash. He's so much better than Steve Nash. I can't even believe that was in the chat. How do you guys feel about this? Are you guys I have a feeling you're not going to be on this, Mitch.
Let Sam go first.
Oh, the MVPs are fake.
I like Chris Paul.
Back-to-back MVPs.
I like Chris Paul. I don't know. Old school Steve Nash. He's one of the greatest to ever play the game.
He had 16 points when he had the MVP. That's what he averaged. 16 points.
He defines what a point guard is, though. I think they're both winners in terms of all-time status. I would probably put them. I'd put them together. I think that their work over their longevity of their career. I mean, we'll see what Steve Nash does as a coach. But in terms of leadership, these are 2 of the greatest leaders in NBA history. I would say they're a lot closer than you think. I would put Chris Paul above Steve Nash.
Yeah, maybe in height. They're a lot closer in height, not their basketball play. They couldn't be in different classrooms ever. Hello, everybody. Here's my 4th grade. Here's Gabrielle, our 4th grader. We're going to stick her in 12th grade anatomy today. Like, that's the difference. Like, sticking up. There's a big difference.
we're going to be able to debate this more next week because Jordan, like we said, next week we're going to have a show at some point about, what people categorize or what people use to categorize their goats in certain sports. And it gives you and I a chance to voice our opinions, but I'm with Sam here. I think that Chris Paul is just better overall, but I think they're a lot closer than you think. And no, not in height. I would honestly probably give the passing advantage to Steve Nash. But all around play, I mean, listen, Chris Paul, I don't have the stats in front of me. So sure, if I trip up here, yeah, go ahead and read me in the comment section, or if you're listening to this tomorrow morning, go ahead and tweet at me and tell me how big of a doofus I am. But Chris Paul's better defensively. Chris Paul's a better scorer. Steve Nash, though, is the better passer, man. He made so many things happen. I think they're a lot closer than you think. I think they're both top 5 point guards. Yeah, I think they're closer than you think they are, Jordan. That's just my opinion.
They're not, because there's two sides of basketball. Look what I'm putting on there's comments that just came in. Chris Paul, 9 defensive teams. Steve Nash, 0. That's why I was so mad when Steph got that unanimous MVP, because he doesn't play half the game. He doesn't play half the game. He doesn't play half of it. Like that was the Josh Allen thing. Like when he was coming into the NFL, they were like, well, he has the size, but his accuracy is not the greatest. Well, I'm like, well, he's a quarterback. Your main job is to throw the football. I hope the one thing you're supposed to be good at, you're good at. I hope you are. Like, come on, guys. Where are we at in America where we think that Steve Nash, and obviously Steve Nash is in the worst case scenario. I don't know how you feel about this, Sam, because we haven't talked about this. Is Steve Nash not in the worst scenario of all time with all these personalities?
I mean, you got to feel bad for Steve Nash. It's like he's coaching Medusa over in Brooklyn for a rookie head coach. I mean, what an awful situation. I just pulled up the career stats. I got to say with you, Jordan, they're a lot further apart than I would have thought. They're close in assists per game. Nash has 4 less points per game. And like Tyler pointed out, Chris Paul, Hall of Fame defender, Steve Nash, not even close. I would have to say Chris Paul is probably at least 10 people ahead of Steve Nash in terms of all-time point guards.
I will say this, and I'm not here to take anything away from Steve Nash. Like I said, he's literally one of my favorite players. Had Steve Nash played in this era, he would have shot the ball a lot more, and Steve Nash could shoot up the room. Steve Nash would be better in this era right now than I think he was in this past era. Especially because the big guy, there's not everybody has a huge guy on the floor. A lot of people are very mobile. A lot of people don't have anybody blocking the lane. A lot less defense. I like Steve Nash. He could have averaged more points per game. I know that he averaged 4. He's averaging 4 less over Chris Paul over his career, but that could be pretty even to me. That doesn't bother me. The defensive part bothers me because now you have to put a completely defensive scheme. Like they had to hide Kyrie Irving, like when we played him. Like he was that bad that you had to hide him on a team that sometimes had Shumpert on the court. You had to hide Steph Curry when Shumpert was on the court. Like you're hiding a guy against other guys like Matthew Dellavedova. Like Matthew Dellavedova was giving you the business type deal. Like defense matters. Okay, I know that people want to say it's a lost art. Everybody wants to see Patrick Mahomes no-look pass or Steph Curry shoot a 60-yard pass. I mean, shoot a 60-yard pass. That'd be hard to do because it's impossible. Shoot a 60-yard shot. But, defense matters. Just saying.
Listen, I agree that defense matters. But
I'm buying that website right now, defensematters.com, making sure.
You hit the nail right on the head, Jordan. It's different eras, and that's the big thing. The top team defensively right now in the NBA is still allowing over 100 points per game. That's just
disgusting.
Right. And I'm not looking back because we need to move on of what teams when Steve Nash played, in 2006 and 7, what the lowest defensive team average, you know what I mean? But I can guarantee you they were holding their opponent less than 100 points per game.
100%.
So it just,
no doubt.
It speaks volumes to how defense isn't looked at the same, and also how much basketball's evolved offensively. Steph Curry has, changed the game with that three that, everybody tries now. I mean, hell, we saw Draymond Green try it the other night, and it just didn't look good, though, because Draymond Green sucks. But other than that, guys, quickly here, we had a topic on episode 24. Got a lot of interaction in the chat and via text message, if people have our numbers. And Sam, I know you were active in the chat, too. Bradley Beal. Some people think he is this great player. Some people like Jordan and I say he's not even top 15 in the NBA, and actually went through the list. He might not even be top 20 in the league. Sam, I'll let you start because Jordan and I have voiced our concern. Is Bradley Beal of the Washington Wizards a top 15 player in the NBA?
He is not, no.
Do you have a list of players better than
me to read my list?
Oh, I'd love to hear yours.
I do. And here's the thing, is I wanted to put Beal at 15 just because I'm on his side. But the more I looked at my list, the less I liked him at number 15. He's definitely top 20. He's averaging 32 points, 5 rebounds, and 4.5 assists right now. I mean, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah, if you like to win 5 games a year.
from top to bottom. From top to bottom, I've got LeBron, Giannis, KD, AD, Kawhi, Steph, Harden, Joel, Joker, and then Donovan Mitchell. That rounds off my top 10. Going down the list, number 11, we have Dame Lillard, Luka Doncic, Jason Tatum, Chris Paul. Number 15, Kyrie Irving. Honorable mentions, Jimmy Butler, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Paul George.
I think it's a solid list. And I will say the last name that you said was Paul George, so somebody may give you crap and say Bradley Beal's better than Paul George, and Bradley Beal's nowhere near Paul George. As much crap as I give Paul George, and I've given him a lot of shit on this show, he is in a completely different realm of even Bradley Beal because of his size and the way. I mean, he's a defender. He can play. He's like Kawhi. He can play both sides of the court. I mean, when you're good at the other 50% part of the game, that makes you pretty valuable. Just saying. Hey, anybody in the Go ahead, Sam.
I was just going to say, one bad playoffs from Paul George doesn't change the player who he is. He's still top tier. Yeah, I mean, he has played many bad games in the playoffs, though, so it's not like he played 1 or 2 and people are going off that. I mean, he gave us a large enough sample size for us to shit on him. I mean, he had a lot of bad games in a row, but overall, he's not better than Bradley. I mean, he is really probably in the outskirts of top 25. And I don't think I saw a comment come in that said, I hope Mo Slays is listening to this right now. I think he is. I don't know why he's not commenting, but it doesn't look like anybody else wants to argue with us, guys, about Bradley Beal not being a top 15 player. I think most people have lost faith in him, or at least they don't have a good argument on why he should be better than top 15, because how can you justify that when you don't win games?
Jordan, I'm looking at the chat right now, and Tyler's saying he is top 15. He said, if wins matter, we can't have Curry, PG, Kawhi, or Paul George and Kawhi for being on the same team. Can't have Curry or Luka, but that doesn't make sense because they'll have more wins this year than Bradley Beal on the Washington Wizards. Listen, Bradley Beal is 25 on my list, and he's only 25 if we're allowed to count a healthy Klay Thompson. So if we're not counting a healthy Klay Thompson, he is 24. There are 23 players in the NBA that I think are better than Bradley Beal. Sam, you had every person ahead of Bradley Beal you mentioned are on my list. There's some guys right now who are absolutely balling that nobody wants to talk about. And one of them is Andre Drummond. Nobody's giving Andre Drummond any love. I think he is a name that nobody's talking about that I would take over Bradley Beal right now. Ben Simmons is one. I mean, the Sixers are winning. If we're talking about wins, obviously Ben Simmons is better than Bradley Beal, correct? Listen, and then you get down to the weeds of where these other guys stack up. Karl Anthony Towns is a force to be reckoned with when he plays this year. You can't say anything about Karl Anthony Towns because of what he's gone through in the offseason. losing 7 family members to COVID. He's only played 5 games this year.
Listen,
If you think if you'd play better than that, I don't want to see you try, because that's wishing ill will on you. But
he's gone through probably the worst thing of all time. I can't imagine that. But I asked you this earlier today, and this is how I found out that Karl Anthony Towns lost 7 family members, guys, because I didn't know that information until today. The question I asked you, Mitch, was what? I'm not even sure who the hell Karl Anthony Towns is. Is he good or not? Regardless of how he's playing this year, that's a question I have asked going into this next year, or maybe even the second half of the season, is who is he? I want to see who he is, because he couldn't work with Jimmy Butler. I want to see, is it
fair
a Karl Anthony Towns problem, or was it some other problem? Because I don't understand why it's not working for him. It's mind-boggling to me. As mind-boggling as this Bradley Beal situation, to where you have the ability to put up 60 points one night, but your team still can't win. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah. Have to make players around you better. That's a fair point on Karl Anthony Towns. He is a 22.6 point per game scorer over his career, averages almost 12 rebounds a game over his career. He's a walking double-double. But you could make the argument that him and Bradley Beal are in the same realm. Obviously, we're not counting Karl Anthony Towns this year, but the argument's there. But I think we're all in agreement. Bradley Beal is not a top 15 player in the NBA. Sam named 15 players better. You named 15 players better. I can name 20 players better. So that should end that discussion.
Great offensive player, though.
Phenomenal offensive player. But there's more to the game than offense. There's more than that. And there's a reason that his team is one of the worst in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
And you have one of the hardest hustling guys in the league in Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know. I've seen Russell Westbrook make players around him better. I have. And Bradley Beal can't do that somehow. But guys, it's time for people's favorite part of the show.
Who has bigger balls?
Jordan, I have my candidate for who has bigger balls. Do you have your candidate for who has bigger balls?
Oh, I have my candidate for who has bigger balls. You ready for this?
Okay. Yeah, I'm ready.
Go ahead, Mitch.
Oh, okay. I'll start off. Jordan, does Tessica Brown, a viral TikToker,
oh my God,
have big balls for putting Gorilla Glue in her hair instead of hairspray? That ended up with her taking a trip to the hospital, and now has her, I believe, in California, getting a special surgery done. She is from Louisiana. So does she have bigger balls for thinking Gorilla Glue would work as hairspray in her hair? Or
is it Patrick Mahomes' mom for tweeting at Giselle, Tom Brady's wife, during the game that they were losing because of the refs? End quote. And that was Patrick Mahomes' mom that came out and did that. His mom. His role model. The person who raised him. The person who took him to school. Yes, that person. She came out and attacked a woman on Twitter who doesn't even play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Sam, this is, I think, what we're going to have to do from now on. Well, we just gave you 2 options. Who has bigger balls?
I mean, I've been absolutely appalled by this Tessica Brown story. It makes no sense to me. She sprayed Gorilla Glue, thinking it was hairspray. I don't know. This is why you need to delete TikTok. Listen up, youngsters. Delete TikTok. It is clearly ruining our society. I mean, that's just appalling. I'm not going to give her any recognition. I'm not going to say she has bigger balls, because what are you doing? Now she wants to sue Gorilla Glue. On the label, it says, do not put on skin, hair, etc. What a ridiculous move.
Oh, that makes it better.
Pat Mahomes' mom tweeting at Giselle, that's an alpha female move. I love that move. She's got big kahunas during that mid-game, saying the Chiefs are losing because of the refs. That's funny. I got to tip my hat to Pat Mahomes' mom here. I don't know her name. I'm trying to look it up. But Mrs. Mahomes, you've got
She's killing the
Randy
game.
Martin. Is that her name?
Randy
Martin.
Randy.
You've got big balls. Randy Mahomes. She's got bigger balls.
Of course, she would have a guy's name too. Randy Martin. It would take a Randy Martin to tweet at Tom Brady's wife during the football game.
Yeah, with an I, not even a Y. Randi. Randy. Jordan, I have to agree with Sam here. You read that out. We don't give these away to each other anymore. Randy has bigger balls, especially the fact that Tessica. Now that I think, what are these names? That's another combo for another time. But Tessica, if it literally says in the label, don't put it in your hair or skin, and you proceed to do that, you're just a straight up dumbass. It has no confidence or being bold at all. Like, you're just a dumbass. Randy Martin, Randy Mahomes, big kahunas.
God
Jordan,
bless.
I was waiting for you to get another word in there, but I guess that this episode's over. Episode 25.
I think it is
over.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening today. Thank you to Sam Summers for joining us, who is going to be a reoccurring guest from now on, if he accepts. But guys, if you haven't, and you made it all the way to the end, like, subscribe, leave a comment, follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and just support us. Listen, you guys are my number one Valentine. Don't take that for granted, and don't make me take that off the list. That's all there is to it. Okay, so I'll see my Valentines on Tuesday for episode 26 of Cover Your Balls. I'm Mitch Balla.
I'm Jordan McKelly.
I'm Sam Summers.
Hey,
yeah, you are.
Hey, that's Sam Summers.
And he did say, "Wash your balls before you cover them." It would.
I think it's time to leave the house.